Good afternoon and welcome to Matchday Live. I don't think we're at afternoon just yet, actually. It's an early start for Chelsea Football Club this afternoon. Up at Anfield for a 12:30 kickoff against Liverpool in the company of Kwaku and Pat Nevin, a man that knows Merseyside very well. So I'm going to come to you first, Pat. Obviously, you're used to the blue side of Merseyside, but Anfield's always a tough place to go. Going to be a difficult one today, but how do you feel about it?
It's also a great place to go as well as a tough place. I mean, if you're a pro at top level and you want to test yourself, it's one of the places you want to go to. So, you know, you'll see the lads walking in, you know, they'll feel the kind of, because there's a number of young players there as well, you know, they'll feel the history of the place. Just one thing. Don't touch that Anfield sign. Don't touch it. Any time my teammates went to touch it, I grabbed their arm and don't show that respect.
It's sacrilege.
I like that. I like that. As a fan, Kwaku, that's what you kind of want to feel, don't you? You want to feel that players appreciate they're going to a tough place to go, but also not get overawed by it. Chelsea-Liverpool's a big game, regardless of the situation, and today will be that. As
100%. This, especially Anfield, you know the history of Chelsea at Anfield, but I think this Liverpool team's slightly different, especially when it's not under the lights, the midday kickoff. Liverpool historically have struggled, especially this season, with these early kickoffs. So I think that's definitely something Chelsea can take advantage of. It's always the tough place to go, like Pat said, and it's what you live for as a football fan and as a player, as Pat was. It's one of the best stadiums in the country. So Chelsea have got a big task on their hands, but definitely think the boys are up to the job.
And also, big statement if you get a result today.
100%. 3 points is invaluable. We know about all the incomes of Chelsea, and if we can kick off this new era with a win, then it's only positive things for the rest of the season. So I'm really, really excited to go into this midday kickoff against Liverpool.
Absolutely right. Well then, let's see the team that Graham Potter has selected for the trip to Anfield this afternoon. And it starts with Kepa Arrizabalaga in goal. We think a back four, maybe a back three. You never quite know until kick-off. But Trevor Chalobah, Thiago Silva, Benoit Badiashile and Mark Cucurella. Conor Gallagher, Jorginho captains the side this afternoon. Mason Mount, Lewis Hall, Hakim Ziyech and Kai Havertz. Pat, what are your immediate thoughts on that, mate?
I think everyone was quite interested to see what happened on our left-hand side. You know, Lewis has done so well going forward, but it's a huge ask against Mo Salah. But the rest of the team, you know, if it is... I think it's going to be both systems. I think it's going to be 4-2-3-1, but it's also going to be a 5 when it needs to be, or a 3 when it needs to be at the back, because they're a decent side. They've got some good players. They're not playing as well. We know this. They're not playing anywhere near as well as they have in recent seasons. But you know that team there. You know a lot of those players played in the last game. You know, so you know, quite comfortable about that. I'm kind of happy about it. I'm excited about it. But also you have to remember, look, what we bring on from the bench and how you adapt the game is as important as anything else.
Absolutely right, yeah. New signings, Noni Madueke not involved today, not just yet. His Chelsea debut will have to wait a little bit longer. And Mykhailo Mudryk is on the bench for Chelsea this afternoon. Let's head up to Anfield actually now to speak to our very own Lee Parker, who is going to give us a little bit more of a taste of what it's like to be around Anfield. Lee, good afternoon, mate. How are you? Well?
A very good afternoon. Welcome to a chilly Anfield. Here we are up in the press box. I'll let you have a quick look around. It's a view that Pat knows very well, of course. Here we are. It's a chilly one, but it's an exciting one, isn't it? Liverpool, Chelsea, always a mouth-watering tie, boys, isn't it?
Absolutely, and just a quick one on the team. We expect it to be a back four, but like Pat said, you know the rotation option and the flexibility within the starting 11 that Graham Potter has selected, I suppose, allows us to ask the question and answer certain questions during the game as well.
I think you're absolutely spot on. I mean, it could easily revert to a 3 at the back. You could have Lewis on the left and then Trevor Chalobah on the right, depending on how the game pans out. But I think that word is flexibility, isn't it? There's a lot of youth, a lot of legs in that team, and you get the idea that a game like this is going to require that.
Just in terms of the mood within camp, Lee, because as fans, you know, we're all getting very excited about the new arrivals. Obviously, Noni Madueke, we've already mentioned, not involved today, but is officially a Chelsea player. Mykhailo Mudryk on the bench for Chelsea today. Does that give the players and the feel of around the training ground a buzz as well, seeing these new players coming in, adding to the squad, and that competition for places? Like the top level players love that because it makes them better players as well, doesn't it?
I think you're absolutely spot on, Joe. It really does. And I mean, at the moment, it's such an exciting time to be around Chelsea Football Club, especially down at the training ground as well, because like you say, new faces arriving. And I think the recruitment has been spot on so far, because not only are they bringing in top quality players, their personalities have been good as well. You mentioned Mudryk there. I mean, we got to meet him for the first time last weekend. He came out half-time, didn't he, against Crystal Palace. His mentality, wow, you know, straight into the training ground on the Monday. The players officially had a day off. He came in and said, no, I want to come in. I want to train. Straight into the gym, then a bag of balls outside for a shooting drill with one of the fitness coaches as well. And you know, it's such an infectious thing to see as well. I mean, going back to the days of Frank Lampard, John Terry, Didier Drogba, they used to say that Frank would be the one to set that mentality. He'd be the one going out there doing that extra bit. And then all of a sudden, people would follow suit. So it breeds that competitive nature and that winning mentality as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and just on that as well, because that mentality is important, and obviously we've had a bit of an injury crisis the last couple of weeks, with a number of players that are out injured, but we are starting to see a return from one or two. Ruben Loftus-Cheek back on the bench this afternoon, which is a big deal, and then you look at the experience on the Chelsea substitutes bench this afternoon in Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Kalidou Koulibaly, Cesar Azpilicueta. It's important that we're getting that squad back together, and maybe we're riding out this little period where we were getting one or two injuries, and hopefully that's the back end of it.
I think it's a really good point, Joe. And I think sort of being around the training ground throughout the last few days, it's been great to see Reece James back out on the grass, N'Golo Kanté, Ben Chilwell. You mentioned Ruben Loftus-Cheek as well. So it does feel that they are getting there eventually. I mean, and it's the way that these fixtures are panning out over the next couple of weeks. It's interesting, isn't it? You've got the best part of 2 weeks now after today, before the Fulham game at the Bridge a week on Friday. So a fantastic opportunity for Graham Potter to get back out onto the training pitch. And I know it's something we spoke about when we were up at the Etihad ahead of the Man City game. He's had so little time to coach this group of players, you know, with games every 3 to 4 games, 3 to 4 days, excuse me. So little time out on the training pitch. So this period feels like it's going to be key. And especially, like you rightly said, Joe, with so many players on the way back to full fitness, hopefully.
It's been a lot of optimism the last couple of days from a Chelsea perspective, and you know I've got a lot of friends that are Liverpool fans, and perhaps they're in a similar position to we've been. You know, the season hasn't quite panned out fully as they would like to. Last 2 home games have conceded 3 goals in both, I think, but both last Premier League games. But today is Jurgen Klopp's 1,000th game as manager. Chelsea have had this milestone before when it was Arsene Wenger's Arsenal in his 1,000th game. We're hoping for a similar sort of thing, but is there any sort of, does it feel a little bit sort of like that narrative has been swept under the rug a little bit, or do you think maybe that will play a part today from a Liverpool perspective? Is a little bit more emotion on it rather than it just being Chelsea-Liverpool? It feels like there needs to be something from both teams.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. There's always a lot of emotion when it comes to these fixtures as well, Joe, isn't there? And I mean, these two teams know each other so well. I was going back through some stats earlier on, and I was looking at that crazy period between, I think, 2004, 2009. And there was something around 24 meetings in all competitions between these two clubs. Here comes the wind blowing in. Apologies if you can hear that on the microphone. Right on cue. But you're absolutely right. Big milestone for Jurgen Klopp. Also a very big one potentially for one Cesar Azpilicueta if he's involved today. 500th appearance for him. And, you know, you can't just undervalue the role that he has played as a skipper during an incredible 10 years at this football club.
Just on that as well, because I want to talk about Cesar. Obviously, like you said, a fantastic football club legend. He genuinely is. He does everything right in terms of represents the football club the way that any Chelsea fan would love him to do as club captain. How important is it to have someone like Cesar in there when you are getting 3 or 4 players that are joining midway through a season? Because it can be quite difficult to settle in midway through a season. So how important is it to have characters like Cesar in the dressing room to help them acclimatise?
No, absolutely. I think it's a really good point. I was watching the Hangout programme that Magda Eriksson and Pernille Harder did with Aspi this week, and he made a really good point. It's something we've seen sort of firsthand as well. As captain, he is always front and centre when new players arrive. I think back to the day that Kerr signed. You know, he came in, it was a late night, he came in, he made sure he was the one there to greet him as he arrived at the training ground for the very first time. He is the person to introduce them to the facilities, to the teammates. You know, these are the things that go kind of unreported. But he is a leader, you know, on the pitch, off the pitch, regular meetings with managers, irrespective of who that manager is. I mean, the fact that he has been so successful, under so many managers just speaks volumes to his character and his quality. Absolutely right. Lee, brilliant as always, mate. Thank you very much. Enjoy the game, and fingers crossed it'll be a nice trip home for you this afternoon. Thanks, Joe. I'm off to touch Anfield time, Pat.
Don't dare.
Top man, thank you, Lee. Pat, just carrying on from that chat there about Cesar Azpilicueta, about having an experienced player within the dressing room that can help players acclimatise and get to know and understand the football club a little bit better. You'll have been both sides. You'll have been in terms of you'll have seen players come in that perhaps need a little bit of an arm around them, and likewise you'll have gone to clubs and you'll have seen players that perhaps hit the ground running and don't hit the ground running. How important is it to have characters around to help that transition?
Look, it's gigantic. And one of the things that people don't understand, and it's true, and it's sadly true, is not all the older pros act perfectly. You know, and like Cristiano Ronaldo, I'm sure he wasn't the biggest help to some of the players that were coming in at Manchester United after a wee while, because it was all about him. And then you look at Aspi and you think, Nah, it's not all about you, is it? It's all, you are all about Chelsea Football Club. You love this football club. You will do anything that's needed. You just watch his attitude when he comes on, you know, as a substitute. I mean, a player at his age, with his experience, with the 500 games in the offing now, possibly could happen today. Will he walk on with the bottom lip? Nah. He will walk on giving every single bit. His attitude when he came on the Fulham game, what was he like?
Yeah.
I mean, he was like Tasmanian devil. He was like chasing everything. He was everywhere. And that's exactly what you want to see. So he's got that. He'll show the right attitude on the field, and off the field, you know he's shown the perfect attitude for every single player coming in. Look, we've got a very youthful squad now. It's getting younger by the day at the moment. And you do need one or two players who show you, A, this is what Chelsea Football Club's about, and B, when you're my age, this is how you act, this is how you behave. And I think ISP, you actually can't get any better than him.
No, you absolutely can't. He's an absolute legend, a club legend, a man that hopefully we will see his 500th appearance for Chelsea very, very soon. Right, it's a double header actually this weekend, Chelsea versus Liverpool. They face off tomorrow in the WSL at Kings Meadow as well. And they go into it in good form as well, Chelsea, after a good point last weekend at the Emirates against Arsenal. Here are the highlights.
Ford trying to pull it back. Easily cleared though. Raphael. Very calm, but a little too calm. Lauren James has pinched it. And this is promising for Chelsea. Kerr in the middle. Fleming too. James could go it alone here. She tries to. Positive, strong solo stuff from Lauren James here. All her own work. Had options. With the throw, and that's a good ball in from Hurtig. Cleared in a hurry, cleared very far. Leah Valti has it for Arsenal. Dangerous ball, big chance, what a save! Musovic got down quickly, good job too, because that was in from Lena Hurtig. Best chance of this game so far. Strong from Ford. And she's gone down there. Penalty given. Neve Charles with the challenge. On Caitlin Ford here. It's a tight one in every sense. Where it was and if it was. Kim Little. Huge moment here. And she's buried it. And you can see what it means to her and her teammates. What it means is that Chelsea have half an hour to deal with this. Arsenal 1 up in the big game. That's an excellent cross. Should be dealt with and is just by Musovic. If the cannon just anywhere will do. Wicked ball in from Marlon, wasn't it? Same combo again. Charles and Ford. Little to where the space is, and it's Catley in it. Awkward from Catley, and nearly in. Musovic got a piece of it. Wienerreuter, Arsenal pushing hard for number 2, and they so nearly found it there. Wasn't going to be a shot, nearly turned into 2-0. Kirby. So many great games between these two, big ones. Is there a big finish? Yes, there is! It's Sam Kerr! Right at the end! She stole it in to score yet another big goal for the Blues. And the champions look like they've pinched a point. Great delivery, calm finish, 1-1.
Brilliant scenes at the end at the Emirates there. Yeah, Chelsea 1, Arsenal 1. Craig, let's think back to Palace. It feels like such a long time ago when we played Crystal Palace, but good performance. good result in the end, and it's one of those what we spoke about last week, perhaps needing a little bit of momentum now to kick on from that.
100%. It was an emotional occasion, and I think the 3 points were the biggest factor for Chelsea on that day. And we got the 3 points by hook or by crook. It looked a bit tasty towards the end, but we got the result that we needed, and it's a good platform for us to build up on. I feel like the game before that against Fulham, we were a little bit unlucky, and a couple of things went against us. But against Palace, we created some good chances, and it's been one of the first times this season we've seen Chelsea have passages of play where we look like a top team again, especially after our struggles earlier on this season. So it's good to get those 3 points, and hopefully it sets us up perfectly to get 3 points again today.
Absolutely, yeah. This is where the run begins, isn't it? Definitely.
Exactly.
I want to welcome Elizabeth to the show. Good afternoon, Elizabeth. How are you?
Hey Joe, I'm doing good. How's it going?
Yeah, we're very good, thank you. We're just talking about Crystal Palace, and I want to get your thoughts, in fact, on a dominant debut from Benoit Badiashile. He was fantastic, wasn't he? Just exactly what you want from an imposing centre-half to really make his mark in the game, and especially like Kwaku said, towards the end of the game when there was quite a lot of aerial balls that were thrown in, you never had any disbelief that he was going to lose an aerial battle all evening long. He was fantastic.
He was, and it was a really difficult situation to be in because he's this young player that's just joined the club, and he really just made a mark on the game. And like you said, aerially, I thought that he was phenomenal. That's been an area that we've been struggling with a little bit, and his presence really helps us to win those aerial duels, to win those first balls, which is oh so important. And like you mentioned, it was a very nervy last 10 or 15 minutes or so because Crystal Palace were really trying to find the equalizer, and we saw that they're capable of doing it against Manchester United midweek. So I thought that Chelsea, and specifically Badiashile, defended brilliantly.
I could completely agree, and I think, like you said, I think that point looks even better now a few days on after they got a good point against Manchester United. But quite a lot of people having their say on Benoit Badiashile on social media. This is a really good point as well about the left-footed balance of playing left centre-back. You know, we've done brilliantly well with Antonio Rudiger there in a back three the last couple of years, but having that natural balance is something that's really going to benefit Chelsea going forward. This one here as well, I think we're going to like this guy, Benoit Badiashile. Clean sheet, solid performance on debut. He's only going to get better. Yeah, he's frighteningly young as well. He's got plenty still in the tank we've no idea his ceiling, and I think that's a very exciting thing to think as well. Superb passing, ice cold under pressure, dominant in the air, looks at home already, could form a great partnership with Thiago. Pat, he's one of those players where immediately the first thing I thought when I saw him make his debut was Chelsea fans are going to love him.
Yes, absolutely. I was up at the top level looking down in the game. So if you're looking down in the game from there, you do get a sense of positional play. So, you know, the headers, the tackles, you know, the stuff that kind of shows out, that's fine, that's great, and you'll do that. But his positional play was good. You know, and I mention that specifically because he's young. Centre-backs take a wee while. You know, they take quite a while before they understand every part of the game. And more importantly, it's like every other position you can make mistakes. Can't there. You just can't make them there. And that's why centre-backs don't really come to the fore until they're 24, 25, 26, whatever. But I think at the camp start, there was a couple of sclaff. The verb to sclaff, it's Scottish, right? It means comes off your foot at the side, right? He had one or two of them early on in the game, right? But it didn't affect him. Yeah. He just thought, no, I'll calm. And the best thing about it, comfortable in the ball.
Well, I'd also say with that, he's a player that for Potter to put him straight away into the starting lineup shows how confident he is in his ability to adapt. And for a player so young, he's played under 5 different managers at Monaco, and so he's able to ingratiate himself into any team that he plays in. And I think that you saw that start off a little bit shaky, as you expect. Like centre backs, they probably take a little bit longer to mature than other players. But next to Thiago Silva, you're learning from the best, and that helps that we've got one of the best centre backs of all time playing alongside Badiashile. And we're going to see him go from strength to strength. And the way he plays, he's going to definitely a player that Chelsea fans are going to love going forward.
Oh, absolutely right, absolutely. And also, Elizabeth, he's coming to Chelsea at a very good time because Kerr behind him in goal looks unbeatable at the moment. He was fantastic. A number of very important saves against Crystal Palace again from Kerr.
Yeah, he made 5 saves in that game. 3 came from inside of the box, and again, it was 3 points that we really, really needed. And I just thought that he was brilliant positionally. Hopefully, we don't give away so many opportunities in this game, why it's really great to know that you have somebody like Kappa at the back of the net who's going to be making these fantastic saves for you. And I personally have him in my fantasy team, and I got a 10-point haul from him, so I'm happy about that as well.
Oh, you deserve that then for the confidence. You absolutely deserve that. But also, Elizabeth, you're absolutely right. It's important to not rely on that, as good as Kepa has been, to try and prevent those shots happening and prevent him from being so busy. But also the fact that we know how good Kepa is with the ball at his feet, to now have, in terms of Thiago Silva, in terms of Badiashile, in terms of players that are in front of him that are comfortable on the ball, it gives Chelsea another asset, another string to their bow to be able to break teams down, and that's going to be invaluable as well when you have teams that are going to try and press Chelsea. You need to have players that are comfortable on the ball to be able to play out.
Yeah, and I think that that's one of the key aspects of Graham Potter's play as well. He's looking for somebody who can play out of the back, and even Kepa can fill in almost as like a third center back at times with the way that he plays positionally and how he has the ball at his feet. So I think that that just opens up more opportunities for Chelsea, because we need to have creative players. You see Thiago Silva pinging balls, and sometimes it comes off, sometimes it doesn't, but just to have that ability to do that and have that extra thing that you can look at, you know, you never know what's going to happen in your back pocket. I think that it's only a good thing.
Completely right. Yeah, he's one of many players that are going to play a very important figure in the rest of the season for Chelsea. Still a lot of football still to be played, of course, and a player that is going to also have a very big impact. New signing, welcome to the club, Hakim Ziyech.
Place balls right, yeah, that's nice. So just do whatever comes naturally, so like...
Naturally.
Yeah, so we'll do some just kind of, no, not like that, but some just kind of leaning forward, some lean back, you know what I mean?
Sometimes it's hard to hear accent. Accent is, yeah.
That's really good. And can you just lean forward now? Just kind of like this. Nice to me. Then just lean back again.
Try to help the team win the titles. Try to improve my game. It was Ronaldo. I like his mentality.
What's the tattoo mean on your...
This one?
Yeah.
Talent ain't enough. Does it mean it's hard work? It's why I'm here. It's a very strong league. Every match is difficult. I really can't wait to start it.
The shirt, yes.
Yeah.
I picked it up in that bag. That bag.
Is this secret line?
To order one for half time and
I will send you in a message now. And can I ask you?
The atmosphere is electric. Incredible.
In original, they are up a signature.
Nice.
Hi, welcome. Hi.
Your captain, Jorginho. Number 26, Kalidou Koulibaly.
Chelsea's new number 15 in the squad today for the trip to Anfield on the bench. I'm sure at some point we will see him, Pat, make his debut. Hakim Ziyech, talk us through, because obviously he's a player that you've seen in Champions League against Celtic. He was very, very impressive. That's probably the one game that I suppose Chelsea fans would have seen most of him.
Yeah, obviously with Scotland we've watched him playing against the national team as well, and kept a real close eye on him then. He's a lovely player. He really is a player that we're going to really enjoy. But I personally am going to really enjoy playing. Fabulously technical, hard-working too. You know, hard-working and, you know, up the field they'll press when you ask him to press. There will be things to learn about the English game. That's just the way it is. You know, it played at a tempo that not a lot of teams, you know, or not a lot of players are used to. And you see some players, particularly, you know, technical players that are halfway up the field, they find it hard to get used to that because there's a lot expected of them right away. But you look at the tattoo and you look at the attitude, and you listen to what he says and you think, yep, I'm liking every single bit of that. And I'm watching him walking out there and I'm thinking to myself, he'd rather be playing. He doesn't want to really walk out there. He wants to have the boots on there. I know it was too tight, and I know it was. I think we're going to love him, and I think the fact that there's lots of players over the years that we've watched here that have been fabulous technical and players who have been creative. He's got a chance to be one of the very special ones.
That's exactly it, isn't it? He has got such an opportunity to be special because he's probably one of the most exciting signings that Chelsea have signed in a long time because, again, we don't know how good he's going to be. He's so young, but he's already so like the potential is off the scale. Like, he could be as good as he wants.
Yeah, much like Pat, I am so excited. I've not been this excited for a Chelsea signing in a while. You've taken back my man back to 2013 to when Chelsea swiped Willian, another player signed from Shakhtar Donetsk. Then he went on to be a fan favourite because we took him from a London rival. And I think Mudryk could have a similar effect, even maybe surpass the effect of Willian because he's so technically brilliant. And he came on the radar when he went viral because of his skills challenges that he was doing online. But then he's added that hard work to it, and Roberto De Zerbi, who's the Brighton manager, got a hold of him at Shakhtar Donetsk and added that hard work to his game, and he's just really, really exciting. He's quick, he's good with the ball at his feet, he can do a multitude of things on the pitch, and I want to see him today, and I want to see him run at Liverpool's right back because I think he can have a huge effect this afternoon.
Yeah, James Milner we think is starting at right back, so if after an hour Mykhailo Mudryk is warming up, I think James Milner will be... I mean, it'll never shy away from a challenge with James Milner, but I can imagine that he's probably hoping that it's not the day that we see Mudryk's debut. But also, Elizabeth, we have got another new addition to the side. And he joined last night, it was confirmed, in Noni Madueke. Again, another player with such excitement that Chelsea fans can get behind, and he's going to be another one that cannot wait to see him in Chelsea blue because he's got so much potential and can be as good as he wants.
Yeah, he has bags of potential. He's really great at dribbling past players. And it's been a while since I feel that we've had players that, like an Eden Hazard-esque player that's just going to take somebody on 1v1 and dribble and unlock defenses. And I think that both of these two new signings have the ability to do that. And then I am personally really looking forward to seeing him and Reece James link up on the right-hand side. He said that Reece was the player that he was most excited to play with, and I think that we could see a really good partnership and chemistry develop there as well.
Absolutely, I think that's a fantastic point, and what a partnership that will be once we see that. It's quite a lot of social media reaction, rightly so, getting very excited over our new additions to the squad. Chelsea are bringing in Noni Madueke. Oh my God, my club is on fire, massive talent. Yeah, love that one, love that one. Building the future, another talent added. Welcome to the Blue family, Madueke. And this one as well. If Mudryk and Madueke can replicate at least 80% of a Robin and Duff, then Chelsea Football Club is in exciting times. Now, it's just as well that we've got a very exciting, technically gifted, brilliant winger that had a fantastic career at Chelsea in the studio with us. Two-time Player of the Year, Pat Nevin, all right? You're not going to say it, so I'm going to say it. What do they need to do to be a success at Chelsea? Do
you know, one of the joys of it and what you've got on their side is Chelsea fans love that type of player. And they always have loved that type of player. So you're on a winner already. I mean, they're going to be quite forgiving towards you. You know, at the early moments, if you do one or two really special things in the game and make a mess of quite a few other things, it's okay. The Chelsea fans get it. You know, if you do things and take chances in the last third of the field, there's been a long line of players going back to Zola. You know, obviously Eden Hazard was mentioned there as well. But there is a long line of players that we've felt that about. I mean, I'm certainly looking at it, and the excitement I've got about what we can do there. If you ever look at the really exciting teams in world football just now, I mean, Manchester City are a very, very special team. Have a look at the wide areas. They have got world-class players in wide areas who get to the byline. That sounds so old-fashioned, but it's where they get the vast majority of their goals. It is the hardest place to defend. They want to get there. Now, whether it's overlapping players like when Reece is back and Lewis will get there and Chile will get there as well, or these wingers who can work to get in those positions. It's really, really exciting. And the fact that we've got that they invert as well. Yeah. Both of them play with the other foot in the wrong side, by the way, and then you can switch back. There's so many things to get excited about. I've talked to a lot of people out with Chelsea, you know, in sort of mainstream media, and they've often said the phrase, "Do Chelsea know what they're doing?" See these last few weeks, I'm looking at thinking, oh yes, oh yes.
Absolutely right, absolutely right. And like the partnership's already been said there, can't wait to see the partnerships that are formed on the pitch. We've got a brilliant partnership coming up to take you through the warm-up in a second in Max and Jason. But first, let's hear from Chelsea's latest signing, Noni Madueke.
Noni Madueke. So Noni is easy, and then Madueke.
Do you have a nickname?
Well, my Instagram name is Nonzino, but some of my boys call me Zino.
Zeno? Is that what you expect him to call you out on the training pitch?
Nah. Noni's cool.
Just Noni?
Noni's cool, man. I started off as a central midfielder and then transitioned to right wing maybe when I was 16, 17. I like to get the ball and be exciting, take players on, beat players, create a lot and score.
So the fans are going to love you?
I hope so. Hopefully, that's the plan.
Who would you say is your favourite player from Chelsea from the past?
That's difficult. I'd probably have to say Eden Hazard. Just get you off your seat type of player, so exciting in terms of the flair and being able to take people off their seats and create and stuff, yeah. There's definitely similarities, but I hope to be as good as him one day.
As soon as we're in the gym, what do you prefer, cardio or weights?
I think I'll go for the weights, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, over cardio.
Not doing that 5K?
Nah. I think I'll do some core or some uppers, man.
Another question, how's your touch? Okay.
Best league in the world, best teams, best players, so definitely excited to come up against everyone and try and help the boys out as much as I can.
Why Chelsea?
Obviously my hometown's London and Chelsea is the best club in London, isn't it? So that one's pretty obvious. It's really exciting, a lot of young players, a lot of talented players, hungry, and yeah, I'm just blessed to be a part of the project and hopefully very soon we'll start reaping the rewards of it.
So you've got to look out for that link up with Reece.
Yeah, no, for sure. Hopefully we can have something cooking.
Outside of the pitch, you're into fashion, any other sports?
Yeah, I like fashion, to be honest.
Yeah?
I take my fashion quite seriously.
Okay.
Yeah.
You and Trevor, because he's quite fashionable.
Yeah, no, Trevor's got it, to be fair. He's good. I like his style. Yeah, no, a couple of the boys are doing well with the fashion.
You more?
Definitely not camera shy,
It's a little bit difficult, like, I don't know what else to do. Smile, close my mouth, like, you got no hands. Yeah,
that's great. If you've got to go, that's fine.
I'll do it, man. I'm in too deep now anyways.
Yeah, you're in
It's 1:45. Thanks, guys. It's been a long day and I'm so tired, but I'm absolutely buzzing to be a Blue.
To the red side of Merseyside, and wherever we go, Trivago are with us today. They bring us to Anfield to follow the warm-up ahead of Chelsea's Premier League clash with Liverpool. Joining me to take in today's big game between two English heavyweights is former Blue Jason Cundy. Good afternoon, Jason.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Max.
Graham Potter's side, of course, aiming for back-to-back wins in all competitions for the first time since October. So Jason's been looking at the three things that Chelsea need to do to secure the 3 points this afternoon. Jason, your first point relates to the atmosphere that we've experienced here in the past, and it's all about playing without fear.
Yes, Liverpool at the moment, and as we are going through a bit of a tricky time. It's a bit of a head-scratcher. Liverpool's midfield has been their problem for me. The high press, the energy has been missing. A lot of people talking about Mane leaving, and that's part of it, without question. There is an aging midfield. You look what they've got in there today. Henderson is not available, so he's not there. But there are players in there that you look at and you think, do you know what? If you can get in amongst them, and they've shown they are fragile. None more obvious than what we saw last week against Brighton. I watched the whole of that game, and from minute one, Brighton were all over them, knocking the ball about. It flattered Liverpool, that scoreline. So this is a side right now, and a crowd that don't quite know what they're going to get from this home side. This is probably one of the games that you look back over the last 10, 15 years, and I don't think that either set of fans go into this thinking, I fancy us. You don't know what you're going to get. I think Liverpool fans will feel, you know, whatever result happens, they can believe, and I think Chelsea fans as well. Consistency from both sides has been very, very poor. And this Liverpool crowd, if you can silence them, if you can. I saw the game they played recently against Leicester. And Leicester went 1-0 up, and it was through two very bizarre own goals that Fast scored. And the game changed on 2 own goals. Had that stayed 1-0, I tell you, the crowd, you could sense and feel they weren't sure what they were going to get. And it's about keeping things tight. Look, if Liverpool take the lead early on, you can imagine what this game will feel like. If at 20 minutes it's 0-0 and Chelsea dominate the ball, and maybe we get the lead like we have done in the past, you will watch and listen how the crowd will sense we don't quite know what's going to come from this Liverpool side at the moment. And even Klopp has admitted as much. He's not quite sure what's going on or how to remedy it. But look, he's put out a side today that I'm sure he will feel is good enough to beat Chelsea.
You are right in that this is probably the most unpredictable that we've seen a Liverpool side in, what, the last 6-7 years or something, and Chelsea as well.
This is really a tough one to call, really is.
Well, look, one thing remains consistent with Liverpool, regardless of how much Jurgen Klopp chops and changes, he always can rely on Mo Salah. And that brings us on to your next point, which is all about how Chelsea have been creating the opportunities on the left-hand side, but it's just as important to protect that side of the pitch defensively.
Well, if you look what Potter has done, he's gone with Cucurella and Lewis Hall. We have to wait and see exactly what the shape is, because Potter, as we've known in the past, can change things after 10 minutes, can change things at half-time. But it looks like Lewis Hall and Cucurella are going to be on their left hand. It looks like a 4-2-3-1 or a version of. So, yes, that left-hand side needs to be protected. But we don't know what Liverpool are going to do. You know, I've seen the team that they played against Brighton, and it was that they played a kind of a diamond in there, and it was Gakpo and Salah down the middle. So we're not quite sure exactly what Liverpool are going to do, but Potter has made his move. He's gone with well, certainly Lewis Hall is far more defensive than Cucurella, but loves to get forward. So it looks like there's a bit of protection on that left-hand side.
Certainly a big part of Chelsea's game plan will be trying to recreate exactly what worked quite well against Palace, which was, of course, having those midfield runners, the likes of Connor and Mason, running up to support the attack. Your third point.
Do you know what, Max? This has been a bit of a bugbear of mine this season, and not just this, but previous ones. I don't think that we really stretched back lines enough or threatened. Conor Gallagher was brilliant against Palace last time out. Mace was also getting into those, popping those areas. Mace is one of those players that loves to get on the half turn. And if you can find his feet, he's brilliant at taking the ball with one leg, 1 foot, and taking it in his stride with the next. I'd like to see us try and do more of that, finding those players in there, but you would have thought that Liverpool will try and protect, or they certainly will do. But it's about making runs. Sometimes, Max, you make a run, and you don't necessarily... The run can be to create space. It doesn't necessarily mean you want it. But Connor was outstanding. I thought he was brilliant against Palace. Energy levels, and it looks like where he's going to play today, he can take risks. Go on. Can you stretch their back line? Can you get in behind? And the space he's looking for probably is going to be between either the centre half, Gomez, or Kanté, and Robertson. That's where he liked to go against Palace.
It's good to see the two managers nice and relaxed ahead of kick-off. Graham Potter has made another big call in defence. Benoit Badiashile, fresh off making his debut against Crystal Palace last weekend. Jason, we both were watching that game. We were working for Chelsea TV, commentating on it. We were both very impressed, weren't we, of how physical the defender was. Yeah,
and he started off a little nervous, actually, and understandably. It's a big day in his life, you know, for him and his family. And he started off a bit nervous. A couple of times he sliced a few things out. But actually, as the game wore on, he looked more and more comfortable. I think the best thing I can say is that he didn't look out of place. Now, you're never quite sure when players come in and then making their debut for decent money, coming to a club like Chelsea. But as the game wore on, in particular towards the end, he won so many headers. I mean,
I was going to mention about right at the end of the game. I think we've got a stat here, which is about how well he copes well under pressure. I think 5 of his 8 headers that he won came in that final 10 minutes. 5 out of 8 of the headers, which shows that when it's under pressure, when the chips are down, he was ready to make the clearances, as you can see here.
And they made changes. They went 2 up top. Mateta came on, Edouard, and he rose to the challenge. I mean, it's a brilliant header, and it's about taking some responsibility. And what I felt as the game wore on, I think he felt like he belonged. You know, there was not saying that he felt that going into it he didn't deserve to wear a blue shirt, but I think you've got to prove it to yourself in the first 20, 15 minutes. And actually he did that. I mean, those headers there that we're looking at, he's the one. This is my ball. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to claim it. And that for me is a little bit of leadership there. Maybe not vocally, but going and taking some responsibility. In my area, no one's going to win that. I mean, if they do get a run on me, I'm going to make sure it's not a clean header. And he impressed me, Max, and impressed the pair of us.
Yeah, up against Edouard and Mateta, who,
yes,
I mean, very physical strikers.
Yes.
A real baptism of fire to Premier League football.
And you know what? That's the way the game. The reason that that stat is the way it is because they went a little bit longer. And he would have known that. I mean, they're big boys, you know, Edouard and particularly Mateta, as you mentioned, and they went a little bit more direct, stood up to the challenge as we saw there. So deserves his place for my money, Max.
Well, as we did mention in the build-up to today's game, it has been a very busy week with new arrivals. Of course, Noni Madueke was announced yesterday. Mudryk is in the squad. He offers pace, perhaps the most naturally two-footed player that we've seen since Eden Hazard here.
Well, do you know what? I've not seen a huge amount of him. I don't think too many people have. And, you know, you go and do your homework and you go on YouTube and you have a look and see what you can do. The outstanding attribute that he has is he's a greyhound. Honestly, he is so quick. He's an athlete. You can see physically. He stops and starts. He's got. It's one of the toughest things you can do as a sportsman, in particular sports like football and tennis, where you can stop and go again, stop and go again. He does that. He slows you down and takes you away. Pace is outrageous. 2 good feet. Look, we're buying potential. He's a young man that clearly a lot of people wanted. And we went in there, made ourselves known. We've seen all the reports now about how the deal was done. A lot of people felt that Arsenal had a march on Chelsea. The truth is, Chelsea really made the real progress and through the right channels, spoke to Shakhtar and went through the right channels. He's one of those players that I think everyone just can't wait to see. And I'm disappointed to see he's on the bench, if I'm honest. But, you know, it's not often do you see a player come in and make his debut immediately.
Well, hopefully we will get a glimpse of the second Ukrainian to play for Chelsea after, of course, Andrei Shevchenko. It's an 8.5-year deal from Shakhtar, but look at these stats. Obviously, people will make their comments about playing in the Ukrainian league. Yes, sure, it's not one of the best European leagues, but this was in the Champions League, and just look at the numbers that he's putting up there.
Yeah, and you know, you're not going to just look at his club form domestically. You're going to look about the young man, about his attitude, about who he is. You know, you find out a lot about people when you actually get them in the camp, and you know what. This is a big move. I mean, culturally for him, you know, he's leaving his hometown. He's leaving his homeland. He's coming to London. There's a lot of other things that go into this that he needs time to settle, to come in. The beauty of this is, of course, he can actually play in the Champions League this season as well. I can't wait to see him. The pace, if anyone has not seen him, have a look on YouTube at his pace. It's unbelievable. He gives some players 3, 4, 5 yards, and he not just bursts past them, but his balance when he's challenged. It's very, very excited about seeing what this young man can do.
How many yards do you reckon you'd need?
Now, half a length of field, I tell you, it'll be a good race.
Well, look, that's the thoughts from us. It's time to get the thoughts of the Chelsea boss. Graham Potter was speaking ahead of today's game.
Yeah, I think the reflections of the Crystal Palace day were one of emotion, absolutely. A fantastic start with a very poignant tribute to Gianluca Vialli, who's obviously a club legend and someone we miss dearly. And then Misha arriving at half-time as well, I think was a nice moment for the crowd. I think the team performed in a good way. A lot of young players, a couple of guys making their debuts. I think the crowd were fantastic with them, with the team, and in the end it was an important 3 points for us. So a really happy day. I think the crowd were really supportive, fantastic. I think they understood the situation that we were in. They understood the players on the pitch. Like I said, a couple of them making debuts, some young players there. Then maybe the moment that we've been in. I think the whole day was a fantastic. Not advert for Chelsea Football Club, but certainly a great showing of what we're about, a great togetherness, a great respect for our for our heroes with Gianluca, and just just a nice day to be involved in, and a day that we can all be proud of, I think. Yeah, Benoit's debut I think was positive. I think he grew into the game. You could see his quality. We're really pleased with him. He adds something to the team, and again I thought the crowd were fantastic with him, really supported him. And the mood's been really good. Combination of 3 points at the weekend and new players coming in, giving you a bit of freshness, and also injured players coming back onto the grass and integrating with the team. So a combination of all those things make it a more positive environment. I have to say we've worked really well, worked really together, even though we've had to suffer with different things. But in the end, we're here to win football matches, and it's nice to do that. And then you get the rewards in terms of a happier training ground. Another big game at the weekend, absolutely, with Liverpool. Fantastic environment to go into, great challenge. A team that's had some problems as well in terms of injuries to key players. So we have to go there and be ourselves, try to perform well, and ultimately try to get the 3 points.
That's the brilliant Graham Potter speaking ahead of this afternoon's trip to Anfield for Liverpool. And don't forget as well, wherever you go, you need to be supporting Chelsea. This is to do with our partner Trivago. Make sure you use the hashtag wherever you go, and you can get us on the wherever you go wall. Send us a selfie or a message in of support of Chelsea wherever you are in the world. We'll show some of the best ones at half-time as well, so the boys know that you're backing them this afternoon for 3 points. That's what we're all after. That's what we're all after, 3 points, definitely. Let's move on to shoot, pass, clear. Now, if you haven't seen this before, we'll give you 3 scenarios. One you need to shoot on, which you think is the most likely to happen. One you will pass on, which could happen, might not happen. And the one you clear is the one that you think is the least likely to happen. OK, so here are your options for today. Shoot, pass, clear, Mudryk goal or assist, Kepa 5 saves or more, 0-0 at half-time. OK, so that's a tough one, actually, isn't it? That's a tough one, because Mudryk goal or assist, I suppose, is a little bit more difficult now because he's on the bench. Quaker, what are you looking at?
So I'm a hopeless romantic when it comes to these kind of things, and we all know what we're here to see. We want to see a Mudryk goal in his debut. Of course we do. So I've gone for shoot. Like Pat touched on, he's a player that can get fans off the edge of their seats, and he's a player that I think if he does come off the bench, he's up against James Milner, who's well versed in Premier League football, but he is getting up there in age. So I've gone for a Mudryk goal or assist for my shoot. Pass, Kepa 5 saves or more. We saw how good he was against Crystal Palace. Made a few saves. You're not going to go to Anfield and not concede the chances. So I think that's likely to happen, but Mudryk goals more likely. And clear, 0-0 at half-time. I think it's going to be goals in this one. Interesting.
Pat, let's have a little look at what you've gone for then, mate, shall we? So you are similar, but one difference. You also feel that this is a debut to remember for Mikhailo Mudryk.
Do you know, just who he's playing against as well. Terrific, does come on. He's a quality player. The lift you get. We watched João Felix when he came on. He was buzzing everywhere, wasn't he? And you're desperate to have that first effect in the game. So that I certainly felt was a big one. The other two were tight, I have to say. But, you know, Kepa, real confidence in him. I think Elizabeth was saying earlier on about the saves that he'd made. They were great saves. There was one kind of one where he palmed it a wee bit really early on in the game. But it's that idea. See if you don't get something quite right early on, doesn't matter. Your mind's right, your head's right, and all the way through the rest of the game, certainly against Palace, I thought it was magnificent. So, yeah.
Just on that, Elizabeth, as well, because Pat's you've passed the 0-0 at half-time, so you think that might happen. It's going to be one of those places where it's going to be a test for Kepa and Badiashile and Thiago Silva as well, because Liverpool are so good going forward and they've got so many different options. Is that something that you think Chelsea need to sort of make sure they're fully switched on today? If you don't concede chances, because if you give good teams opportunities long enough, they'll take one. Chelsea needs to be aware of that this afternoon.
Definitely, and Liverpool are coming off of a difficult period as well, 2 losses in a row in the league, and so they're going to be looking to get a win as well. And they sit 9th, we sit 10th, so this could be massive. So just to go into my choices, I think I had the same as Pat. I think we're all feeling very optimistic about Mudryk. I would absolutely love to see him get a goal or assist off of the bench. I think that specifically his pace, his acceleration and deceleration, he's also great with both feet. I think that could be lethal versus Liverpool. And then I cleared Kepa making 5 or more saves because I hope that he doesn't have to make so many saves, basically. And then I passed 0-0 at halftime because I do think that there could be goals in the first half.
Oh, fingers crossed it's a Chelsea goal. That's all we're hoping for anyway. Okay, let's move on to trivia then. This is a difficult part, but Pat, we've got you in now, and you've done Mastermind, you've done Countdown, so trivia. I'm absolutely confident you're going to help us with this. So let's have a little look at the question. The trivia question for this afternoon is: we won our first ever trip to Anfield in 1907. I'm so sorry, Pat. No one's going to know this. What was the score?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was covering it for the BBC.
Right. I mean, this. Elizabeth, I don't know why I'm asking, because I'm pretty sure there's players that will have played in that still won't know the answer.
You know, I wish that my great grandma was alive, because I would call her up and ask her, but I've got no clue.
Quaker, any ideas?
No
Nothing
idea.
that's ringing a bell. Maybe you've read this week, or no?
Nothing at all. That's a shot in the dark, that one.
Pat,
big shot in the dark. But back in those days, there were some big scorelines. It was quite common, and styles were very, very different back in those days. So I think there could be a
6-5
few goals. I was thinking 5-2.
5-2. Okay. Well,
complete guess.
We'll have a think. That's all we can do. Is literally just have a think. If you've got any idea, by the way, please do feel free to help us out. No cheating, of course. I don't want to see any search engines used. But if someone's watching this going, I know what that is, get us involved. Let us know. Right. Last few moments ahead, building it up to kick off. Then, Elizabeth, it's going to be a test for Chelsea, but I suppose the bigger test maybe is for Liverpool, because there's a lot more expectation on them. They haven't got a transitional squad. They're not under a new manager. There's a lot of pressure on them to get something today. Is that something that Chelsea can lean on, the fact that the Anfield is quite a demanding place to play football for a home team?
I think so, and we haven't seen the best of Liverpool this season, and like I mentioned, they're coming off of 2 losses. We're coming off of a win, so hopefully that can play into our favour a little bit. But I think if there was ever a time to play Liverpool, maybe this is a good time to try to nick 3 points away at Anfield. It's definitely not going to be easy. They're going to show up. They're going to be hungry. It could be massive for European football, given how the table stands now. But hopefully we can just go there, put on a good performance, get the 3 points, and shoot up in the table.
Absolutely right. Yeah, that's the optimism we like to see. And also, Kwaku, the fact that Graham Potter's selected Conor Gallagher, Mason Mount, Lewis Hall, all energy, or give you that confidence on the ball to drive from deep, get on the ball, want to make things happen. Does that maybe tell you a little bit that this is going to be one of those games where you are going to need energy, you are going to have to do a lot of work without the ball for a long period?
100%. These players will understand. It's a modern rivalry, Chelsea and Liverpool, but it's a rivalry nonetheless, and they will understand what this means going to Anfield to try and get 3 points. We're very familiar with Liverpool, played against them 4 times last season, draws in all of them in terms of over 90 minutes. Hopefully we can get the win in this one. And in terms of the lineup we've picked, I'm confident that if we get to half-time and we're in the game, then our attacking options off the bench can definitely hurt Liverpool and we can hopefully get a win in this one.
Absolutely. Pat, where's the difference going to be made today then?
First of all, I'd look at Liverpool. Oddly enough, Bajcevic is coming in, Gakpo as well. I think they look at the back line, and if they don't see Van Dijk there, they're a wee bit spooked. They don't play as well without Van Dijk there, even though he's not been absolutely brilliant this season. So this game, more than any for quite some time, I think this is a chance to really get at Liverpool. Although we've got a number of players who haven't played in this fixture either. But I think Graham Potter doesn't approach these games with anything else other than utter positivity. So, high tempo, and I think we can outrun them.
And one final one as well. We've all mentioned we'd love a Mykhailo Mudryk goal today if he comes off the bench. But is it important to also level that expectation down a little bit? If today isn't the day that he comes on and makes his debut, we've got to see how the game goes. His time will come. Let's not rush that.
Look, slowly but surely we're going to see João Felix, we're going to see him together. They're going to see players that we haven't seen together for Chelsea, and it's going to take them a little while. It's just the way it is. It's just the gig. You don't walk into Premier League football and take it by storm. It generally doesn't happen, particularly if you're young. We have to be slightly patient, but have a look at what the club have invested in. They've invested in very, very exciting youth players from around this planet, and everybody wanted some of these players, and certainly Mudryk more than anyone else. everyone on the planet wanted him. So that's why I'm sitting here smiling.
Absolutely right. Hopefully we're all smiling at full time. Time to hand you now over to our commentary team of Max and Jason to talk us through proceedings at Anfield, Chelsea versus Liverpool in the Premier League.
Thank you, Joe. It's 9th versus 10th in the Premier League, but this is not your average mid-table clash. Liverpool and Chelsea have shared some classic encounters in recent years, but this is the first time the two have met outside the division's top 8 in 7.5 years. That afternoon saw Jurgen Klopp pick up his maiden win as Liverpool's manager. This afternoon, he takes charge of his 1,000th career game. But Chelsea are well equipped to spoil the Germans' party. Anfield is the Blues' most travelled away day, and in the side's 12 meetings on Merseyside in the past 10 years, Chelsea have lost just twice here. The most recent of those came 2 years ago, and since then the English heavyweights have faced off 4 times without a winner in 90 minutes. This is Chelsea's first chance of a revenge, following that FA Cup final shootout defeat at Wembley in May. Well, we know all about the famous Anfield atmosphere from seeing it. Jason, what's it like to play in when the Kop really start going for it?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Max. Yeah, well, I played back in there in 1991. It was the first time that we'd won there in something like 30 years. Vinnie Jones scored a volley at the edge of the box. Ronnie Rosenthal scored for them, and Dennis Wise, I'm pretty sure Wise, he scored a penalty, which secured a 2-1 win. The last 15 minutes, the Kop, honestly, at that end, that's where they attack. That's the reason they do what they do, to attack that Kop end. Look, the atmosphere is going to be amazing here today. This is two sides that are languishing mid-table. This is two sides that faced off in 2 domestic finals. Liverpool last season played in every single game possible. They got to all 3 finals, come up short, of course, in the league, come up short in the Champions League. Chelsea is a side here that's chasing regular silverware. And all of a sudden you look now and you're thinking, wow, this is 9th and 10th. This is a big game for both teams. Look, top 4 looks remote right now for both of us. But if you get a win today and all of a sudden a couple of results for Newcastle, I'm looking at Newcastle really, maybe United. I think City and Arsenal are going to fight it out. But this is a big game today. And I can't call it inconsistent side. It feels, Max, it feels like a draw.
Well, the two sides lining up as the Premier League anthem plays. Chelsea wearing their full blue tracksuits, and then Liverpool in their full red. Very much set up like a boxing match, this one. The blue corner and the red corner. And then plenty of expectant fans supporting both sides. It's very rare that either of these two find themselves in this sort of position at this stage of the season. But here we are, and they each have a job to do to pick up those 3 points and attempt to get their Premier League campaigns back on track. Certainly going to be